Hey guys, and welcome back to another YouTube video. In this video I'll be going through the Western Bulldogs versus West Coast game in what was a smashing. There's no questions about that. Western Bulldogs in the end won by 76 points in the end. It was they scored 13 more goals, kicked 2 less behind, so it just shows the inaccuracy of West Coast. In which West Coast only really played a quarter. That's all that can be said. It was, I think, 16-14 at quarter time, and after that it was 90 to 16. So it just shows that even with Western Bulldogs pulling Libet in the third and basically playing Bont as a full forward, it really had no impact on the game. And West Coast were just... Their basic metrics actually don't look too bad when you look at it. I think clearances and stuff like that were pretty even, etc., and inside 50s were even. But the just efficiency of Western Bulldogs, 16 goals from 26 shots compared to West Coast 3 goals from 15, sort of paints the picture there. If West Coast had probably kicked another 4 or 5 goals, it wouldn't have looked as bad, as that probably would have been about 100 to 60, and that's not the worst outcome. So I think there is some level of West Coast. They're getting better basics, but it's just the missing Oscar Allen and some other stuff isn't helping, obviously. But it just looks just as bad on the scoreboard. But I don't think it's as bad as what people are suggesting it is. But anyway, before we get into the video, remember to like and subscribe, turn the notification bell on so you know when I upload, and let's get into the recap. So first of all, we go here, and Treloar 114. He was immense. I mean, after the first quarter, that is a save and a half again. We've been talking about, or at least I think it was one of the traders put up a tweet about the saves of some of the players. We saw Hayden Young, I think Caleb Sarong this round. A lot of guys on about 10 points at quarter time, and they end up with a big number. And you can just see it here. What's that? 102 after quarter time is quite ridiculous from Treloar. Bailey Williams, this what seems to happen for those sort of halfbacks that average about 65 to 70. They have 1 or 2 games a year where they just go off, and this is what Bailey Williams is going to do. So a lot of people are going to trade into him because he's a half. He's actually a midfielder, so that's not going to help. I don't know whether he's playing on wing, but I swear maybe he was a winger. That these type of guys have one game where they play well. Vandermeer, same sort of similar scenario. I think a lot of people will jump on him because he is he'll have a low break even, but it's Vandermeer. He's going to put up a poor score eventually. Bontempelli somehow put up the dirtiest 103 that you'll ever see. I think is if we actually go to DFS, you will see this. And we go next time, we go to CBAs, then we go Western Bulldogs. You'll just look at Bont and you'll see 57%. It was way down, and he just played as a full forward half the time. So yeah, it gave more midfield exposure to Sanders, which we'll get to in a second about a tweet of mine that had involved Sanders. But yeah, Bont, he scrounged his way to a 103, and that was perfect off 16 touches or something like that to get a 103. It had like 9 tackles, 3 goals, 6 marks or something like that. So it was a proper smash and grab, almost a 72-point non-disposal effort. So basically 70% of his points were non-disposals, and huge. Dale 102, that was crazy from him as well. Not really Dale, but similar to what we had with Williams, Vandermeer, not to the extent of them, given that Dale is probably going to average 80, but Dale is going to have these games where he goes and scores a 50 and then backs it up with a 100 or something like that. That's the way the Dogs' half back line seems to be working at the moment. Johannisen, again, probably actually a good pick. He's just way too old to pick him, to be honest with you. But I did think about it. But yeah, he's been pretty good. Bramble as well, another one that I think some people may just jump on. I just need to check with Bramble. Let's just check. That didn't cut that out. Bramble. He's averaging 86, so I think that just shows to me that I don't think he'll be valuable. 84, 74, 100. If you're going to be picking a guy at this point, you want to be picking like a Powell, who's going to be probably putting up 90 to 100 points each week because he has a really good role. I just wonder with when Western Bulldogs get when Western Bulldogs put Bontempelli back into the midfield full time, they potentially get to James Harmes and play him as well as their usual lineup, and Macrae starts to really hit. Whether that'll mean that the likes of a Bramble really actually scores. English a 98, so he is dropping, and I don't think I'll go with him just because I think Gawn and I'm really trying to attack the West Coast matchups. And if you look at Bontempelli's fixture you'll see that they have North twice, who's actually a hard ruck matchup, but they don't play West Coast again. Whereas if we look at the St Kilda lineup and their schedule, they play West Coast twice. So getting in Marshall, especially round 12, when you've got all those bye games, and round 12 is roughly around the time that who's the West Coast ruck? Let's actually check this. West Coast ruck line. When Flynn returns, I still think that that'll be a profitable matchup for Rowan Marshall. So yeah, round 12, I'll be getting in Rowan Marshall beforehand. I'm looking at Rowan Marshall even potentially next week, after the West Coast game for Bria Grundy, and jumping on Marshall there. But yeah, looking at that and just thinking that I'm not going to be jumping on English this year, I don't think, because of the fact that he doesn't have a West Coast matchup left. And just also checking Melbourne out, you will see that they've got West Coast twice as well. So it's just more onus on selecting a Max Gawn, who both him and Marshall still have 2 West Coast matches left, which should be the most profitable ruck matchup. And let's just use DFS to show you what I'm talking about here. Down here to defense first position, and then you'll go down to the middle line, the ruck line. It's actually Western Bulldogs and West Coast Eagles and GWS that have the best scores per or average above. So you'll see here, and you'll go GWS in round 5 for Steele, and that's for St Kilda, and that's when we're bringing in Marshall. And then you'll see that they have no GWS matchup, but they still have the 2 Eagles matchups. Bontempelli, they have 2 GWS matches, but one West Coast match. And I do think that the GWS match will start to, that matchup for Ruckman will start to get worse in terms of lower averages. And then you look at Max Gawn, and they've got, do they have GWS twice or just once? Looks like they've just got them once, but they've got the double West Coast matchup. And they've got a, do they have double West? They've already played Western Bulldogs, but they've still got the Western Bulldogs matchup again, which is a positive. So that's sort of my thoughts around the ruck lineup. And I know I rambled on for a lot, but that's sort of my reasoning behind not going Marshall over English, just because of the matchups at the moment. And also pricing wise, Marshall should be, it looks like they'll both be around the same price, but Marshall should, I think, be better in the long run. Gallagher, 90, he's been absolutely huge for those who jumped on him. I wish I had jumped on him, but I missed out by like 10k, and also just the scheduling, I guess. Sanders, 85, was absolutely huge, and he's just going to jump up in price. Pretty good save, given he was on 14 at quarter time. Given that means he scored 71 on the last 3. Norton, Ugle-Hagan, Macrae a 75 after a pretty slow start. I think he will get back to his best and start putting up 90 plus scores. But I think you can wait on it for the next sort of 3 to 4 weeks, as I think he's going to start building fitness and building that, and he'll start to build into the game. So I reckon he'll drop now. Given he scored a 75, he's going to drop probably, I reckon, overall to about 770k by the time you need to pick him up. And this is just another one that you can go, okay, I'm going to bring him in for Luke Jackson when Luke Jackson loses that ruck role, as Macrae's probably going to average more. So that's sort of my thoughts around that. But we'll wait and see with if this was just a West Coast matchup that caused him to score 75, or whether it was just that's what he's going to average or whatnot. What's he's actually going to average against decent opposition. Daniel, 75 as well, so he's really lost that role, and he is plummeting down in price now. He's at probably 690 now, I would say. Buku Kama, 74, wouldn't look much into that, to be honest with you. He's a key defender, so he's going to have scores of like 30 and 40. Libba subbed out, Drea, West, Baker, Darcy Jones, no one else he really denote. And then Elliot Yeo, 108, he's been absolutely huge. Some were questioning his defensive running, and I mean, he's not going to get dropped because he's their best player at the moment. And 108 from him, absolutely huge. 48 difference on his break even. So he's going to go up about 35k or so to around that 680k, 685k. So he's been absolutely huge, and that break even is going to turn in our favor and is going to go down to like 40. McGovern 105, Duggan 104. Duggan again showing that he's on the verge of being top 6. Kelly, Cripps, Bailey Williams, Barras, Waterman, Botticelli, Bailey Williams, again, just showing that last quarter saved him from looking really down at these sort of 50-odd scores, as he scored a 33 in the last. And Hunt, Darling, Ho, Jimby, again, a 49 from him. And so, yeah, he really did nothing in the first half and then turned up in the second to score 37 in the second to get to a 49. Jamison, Cole, Jones, Harley Reid, a 43. I was pretty happy that he did basically nothing. And yeah, so ended up with a 43, and I don't think he's really going to be fantasy relevant. He's going to have a break even of like 25, and he's averaging like 50. So it's not really like he's doing much on his price. So I'm not too disappointed that I traded him out. I'm more disappointed that I didn't take advantage of trading him out as I went to Billings rather than, I mean, I wouldn't have known at the time that Powell was going to pop off, but if I gone to Powell, it would have been a lot more valuable. But yeah, just sort of there's nothing much more to talk about in the West Coast team. Maybe Gaff comes in for Chesser is something that I've heard. But yeah, just a couple of tweets quickly here that, Sanders looks close, I reckon. And something that I'm pretty sure Jaden will come out with in the next sort of 48 to 72 hours or so on sort of players that are on the bubble. I reckon Sanders is probably 30% forward time. So we're talking, it all depends on, I think before the game, he was about 38, 39% forward time. But after the game now with the 52% CBAs that he had, if you look here at the Morts has it here, you can see here time on ground 72. So he had only about 20% forward time. Here, looking at that, unless he started on the wing a couple times. So that looks as if that probably brought it down a little bit. So I reckon he's just jumped under. So if we see more of what we saw in the West Coast matchup where he's getting predominant midfield minutes, then I'm a little bit worried. But I think he may just grab it, which would help dramatically, as putting him in the forward line would just sort a whole lot of issues. It may mean that we have to keep like Roberts in the midfield line, but or something like that. But if we can chuck one of these rookies into the forward line and get him down there, then it would be a lot more helpful. And then also, just my tweet on Harley Reid being not fantasy relevant this year. I think it's holding up at the moment. He obviously could have a couple of 70 scores, which sort of kills it. But then again, if there was a round that's going to kill me for this, it's this next round here that we have best 22. And that forward line looked weak at the moment. So if he turns up and scores a big score, then that'll be annoying. But then again, if he scores another 40 and really just stalls in cash gen, and there's like Lazaro and Campbell that are scoring more than him, then it really shows that he's not that fantasy relevant. But anyway, that is the video, and I'll see you guys in the Richmond vs Swans game recap, and then you'll also have the recap and round review tomorrow of the game on the Easter Monday. But anyway, I'll see you guys in the second recap of today. Bye, guys.